This is cow 5923, and in this video she is easily the lamest cow in this entire farm. And I'm going to explain a little bit more about that later on in the video. In this episode we see her very first trim and return to her 2 weeks later to see what went wrong. This is the Hoof GP. So according to the list that we've got, this cow is the lamest one in the entire herd, but to be totally honest, when she walked in, you couldn't really see what the problem was. So on first inspection, this hoof looks pretty good, to be fair, but as soon as we start grinding at her foot, you can see the cow is flinching, telling me there is definitely a source of pain, and almost immediately we can see this small crack beginning to appear towards the bottom left part of her toe. I suspect at this stage that is the source of the problem. She is definitely going to need a block, so rather than waste any time and do it later, I prepare her outer claw right now, ready for that block. So it's this part here that I'm thinking must be the source of pain. It's just too obvious for it not to be. So what we're going to do is we're going to trim away these top layers of hoof horn. You can see the bruising actually already through there. And as I swipe through, I can see small pieces of moisture beginning to appear. We know this cow is extremely lame because it says so on our list, but to be honest, when she walked in, she was in a bit of a hurry, so we couldn't really tell. I must apologise for the cow in the background making all the noise. She doesn't seem to appreciate that we're videoing this. It's not the cow in the crush, by the way, making that noise. With these problems, you just do not know how far they're going to go. Sometimes they fade away to nothing. And other times, like this time, that happens. That is exactly what we want to see. Oh. Oh. Okay. There's more in there than I thought there was. Okay, so we're going to trim. There's a lot more in there than I thought there was. I thought that was just going to fizzle away and just be a very small pocket. Sometimes when cows move quickly past you, their instinct to flee the scene, as it were, is stronger than the pain that's coming from their foot. So it's hard to tell how sore a cow is or is not. We're getting close now, so I need to slow down. I could just kind of whale on in a second ago, but now I'm getting... Oh, you're okay. I'm getting to the nuts and bolts of the trim. All that gunk. Oh, it's just completely and utterly underrun. Right, I think we'll take the grinder out and reduce all of this and get rid of all of this pus and brown ooze. You can actually see that there's a cavity under there. But you just don't know when that hoof horn is going to be attached or not. It's still full of gunk, I can see it all. I'm trying to peer down into that cavity to understand just how far it goes so that I know where I can put my knife and where I can't put my knife. Right. This stuff is really tough, so I'm going to reduce this part with the grinder and then all of here. As I'm working away with the grinder here, I'm being really careful. You can see she's flinching constantly. One false move with the grinder and I could make or do some real damage to this foot. But the hoof horn is so hard, it's much easier and faster to do it with the grinder. And now that we've reduced that with the grinder, it's going to be much easier for my knife to slice through this hoof horn and do the finer work. You see? Just like that. It's still hard though. There's still a cavity under there. This is so noisy here today, it's unreal. That is an incredibly sore foot. It's little wonder that they had it noted down that this was the lamest cow here. I realise that in many videos I'll say this is the lamest cow of the herd, and it possibly sounds like it's a load of BS. But think about it. We film the most interesting cases, and often, unfortunately for the cows, the most interesting cases are the ones which are the lamest in the herd. So, just in case you think that I'm talking a load of rubbish when I keep saying it's the lamest cow in the herd, there's the reasoning behind it. Right, this cow is definitely going to need a wrap. There's a little bit of dermatitis attacking the corium where it's completely exposed, and that dermatitis needs to be killed. Craigie boy to the rescue. Thanks, buddy. And with the iodine and salicylic acid wrap firmly in place, that brings this trim to an end, but not this video, because we're just about to fast forward 2 weeks in time. So it is 2 weeks later and she is back in the crush, and unfortunately she's lost her block. That's right, my famous green glue hoof grip pull has failed, but that is a very rare thing. I am glad she's back in the crush though, because we can reattach that block and we can check on the progress of her foot so far. It's actually looking pretty good considering. So these cows live on slatted concrete, meaning there are holes in the floor. And what often happens is the block gets stuck in those slots in the concrete, the cow twists round and pop! The block snaps off the foot, which in some ways is good because if it didn't snap off the foot, the alternative is that it hurts the cow and snaps the hoof capsule off the cow's foot. So we definitely want the block to come off in that case. Believe it or not, I have seen cases where this entire hoof capsule has become attached and popped off the cow's foot, which is an incredibly bad thing to happen. It sounds obvious, but it is honestly one of the biggest messes you've ever seen in your life. Right, so you can see where all of this new hoof horn is starting to form. It is honestly looking really good. There's lots of cracked hoof horn around the edges, and this part is clearly still open, so we need to do something about that. So we'll just grab this knife and we're going to tease away any part of hoof horn which isn't completely attached. You can see me just slipping my knife in the edge there. Right down here at the toe. You can hear noisy cows in the background, rumbling gates. This block must have come off very recently actually, because you can see that there's not really been any pressure on this sore affected claw. This is looking really, really good actually. Swap knives so I can swipe up the way. This cow is actually on one of Scotland's very best farms. They perform extremely well. Believe it or not, these cows on average give around 39 or 40 litres, or sometimes even an average of 41 litres of milk at this farm. And they're only milked twice a day and really not pushed, which if you're in the dairy industry, you'll know is fairly incredible, especially for here in southwest Scotland. I think what we're going to do is we're going to get this block reattached here before continuing. So I'm only using the grinder here to scuff this foot up. Pay attention to how gently I am trying to touch this outer claw with the blade of the grinder. I really don't want to remove any material whatsoever, It's only been 2 weeks since this foot was flattened off with the last block, and taking too much off now could cause a real issue. Something I'm keen to avoid. Just make sure there's enough sort of surface area to grip the glue well. So we're just going to reattach this block in exactly the same way as we did 2 weeks ago. Like I said, we won't have done anything wrong whatsoever. It's just the environment sometimes can be really unforgiving on these blocks. Give it a little, we'll just give it a little spray off first. Right, I'm just going to make sure this hoof horn round about the lesion isn't dragging in to it at all and insulting it. What we're looking to do is basically get this tissue here to granulate properly and grow new fresh hoof horn over the top. If we flash back to how it was the first time, you can see it was much more open and it is beginning to clear up. We're just struggling a little bit here. I say we're struggling, to be fair, it has only been 14 days. Right. This little area up here on the axle. Oh, you're alright lass, you're okay. This little area up here on the axial wall can be troublesome, and there is cracking hoof horn up in there. So we just need to peel that away, because if we don't, those layers will continue to be disconnected as they grow out. So we need to make sure, oh it's hard, we need to make sure that there is no disconnection there whatsoever. And that's actually done it. You can hear her protesting in the background. That is the cow in the crush. You could hear mooing there. Although it's not actually that bad, I think we are going to rewrap this just to make sure that that tissue does granulate and she fully heals from this. We've come so far in such a short amount of space, of time that is, that we might as well do the job right. And while Craig does that wrap, actually, I need to tell you that the book has now been relaunched and made live. We've actually sold almost 18,000 copies. There are only a couple of thousand in stock, so if you do want one and it says it's in stock, then it is physically in stock in the warehouse and it will be posted out to you very quickly indeed. So if you want one of those, go to thehoofgp.com. I am very relieved and glad to say that it has been incredibly well received by you guys. So thank you for all your kind words and positivity regarding the content of the book, because it does cut very close to the bone. We've actually just spoken to one of the boys who works here, and that cow did have her block on this morning, and he's just found it in the pen where we've been collecting them from to bring them down the race. When cows are skiting around and things like that, that is when they lose blocks, as well as in these slats. So yeah, it's actually quite reassuring to know that it only just came off this morning.
And with the improvement in this cow's hoof in just 2 weeks, I for one can't wait to return to this farm in a further 2 weeks to see how she is then.